Greetings and welcome to Make Programming Fun Again. My name is Karol Moros, and in today's video I'm going to build a simple React-based single-page application. You can treat this video as a standalone walkthrough, but actually this is intended as a part of a larger project. We're going to use the following technological stack. We're going to use Vite for development server and bundler, TypeScript language. We're going to use the React router version 7. We're going to start the application with Tailwind, and then if we have enough time, maybe we can also manage to set up TanStack Query, which is a very nice library that we can use to make API calls. And without further ado, I'm going to first tell you that I use Mise en place. This is a CLI tool that you can use to manage versions or different installations of your command line tooling like Node.js or Deno or PNPM. And if you are on a Unix-based platform, you can just copy and paste this command and it's going to install Mise on your machine. And once you have this installed, you can check you have it installed like using Mise version, and then you can call Mise install node at latest, PNPM at latest. And I have already run this command before, so I currently have node 25.6 and PNPM 10.28. And with this I can now call PNPM create Vite at latest. And the first question that this wizard asks me is the project name. I'm going to call this project Purple Rain. And then we are going to pick the framework React. And then there is a template with React Router v7. And we are not going to use roll down Vite because it's experimental. Install dependencies with PNPM. Initialize a new Git repository. Install dependencies with PNPM. So now if we cd into the new directory, Purple Rain, we can open the project in the code editor, and let's start by exploring the directory structure. So they gave us a README. We could open it up and see what's in store. You can install dependencies with npm or PNPM. In our case, I'm just going to replace all of these with PNPM. And then, so let's start by running PNPM run dev. We can go to the browser and open localhost port 5173, and we're going to see the logo of React Router and this box. And now let's go and see how all of this is rendered. So we have a file called root.tsx. And this looks like a layout. So as we can see, we have, I'm not exactly sure where the actual entry point is. And for example, we have this app component, but I'm not exactly sure where it is called. Okay, maybe it has something to do with this React Router config. Okay, I'm going to set this to false because I want to use SPA only. Then there is this, we have this root tsx, which may be the entry point. There is a layout and there is an app, a component, and then there is an error boundary, but I don't see any of those actually used in the project, which is a bit baffling. So what do we have here? Wait, so are any of these, are these actually something magic or what? What's data mode? Okay, this looks like it could be related to SSR, which I don't want. Okay, let's see what they say about root TSX. This file is required. It needs to be placed at app/root.tsx. It is the parent of all routes, and it is in charge of rendering the root HTML document. So this is the reason there is no index.html file in the project. It's because it's apparently handled by React Router itself, and then it needs an app. And it has an app only renders an outlet. An outlet should be a slot to insert all the content, but it doesn't seem to be this way. Then there is an error boundary component, but I don't see it used anywhere. Because the root route manages your document, it is the proper place to render a handful of document level components that React Router provides. These components are to be used once inside your root route, and they include everything React Router figured out or built in order for your page to render properly. So okay, the root route also supports an additional optional layout export. The layout component serves two purposes. Okay. Layout takes a single children prop, which is the default export, or okay. So apparently this error boundary component is a magic. It's like a magic constant. It's going to be rendered if something happens. It's I'm not entirely sure where this is going to happen, but I'm just going to assume this is what's going to happen. And then what's useloader data? I don't really know what useloader data means, so I'm just not going to okay. Okay, so apparently this is going to be handled in the during server-side rendering. So I'm not going to bother with this with server-side rendering in this video, but maybe I could make another video where I explore it. Okay, but anyway, we know that these are basically just magic exports. So if we export the layout, and if we export these links, okay, so apparently if we export these links, then React Router is going to insert them into the head, and you're going to get Google fonts for like a Google font, link to a Google font for Inter. And then there is Meta, which I think is going to render this. So it's going to render this title and this description. So let's see how this is going to work. If I now change this title, test changing, then in the browser we're going to see that the document title has changed. I'm going to just change it back for now. And then it also says that there is also a description. So let's see. So in the head we are getting a meta description, which is exactly what is stated here. Let's test changing description. Okay, so now this meta description has been hot reloaded. So things are looking great for now. And as you can see, this home route only renders a component which is called welcome. And I'm just going to get rid of everything that's here and just render an h1. Okay, so we got rid of all that junk, and we can delete this, and we can delete these 3 lines. So now we have a bare bones homepage, and then there is also this app.css file, which is the entry point for Tailwind, and it actually also defines a very simple dark and light mode. So this is just using this color scheme property, which tells the browser that the application supports dark mode. So now, since I have dark mode, my dark reader does not turn on, because it just says a dark theme has been detected, which is a very nice example of browser integration. And then what else do we have? And there is this file called routes.ts, and it defines routes using a syntax I'm not yet familiar with. So I think that's a good thing we can use to familiarize ourselves with. So now, okay, this is the syntax I'm familiar with. This was the way you would define routes in React Router 6. But hey, oh, okay, so it seems like we have installed React Router in the framework mode. So we have to call you have to set up the router using this routing feature. This since we are in framework mode, we have a different there is a different way to configure routes than before. So as we can see, it calls index, which is okay. So it says index, so this is going to render at just at the root path, and then we can define a different route. Route. Do we have a route component? Yes. So we can just let's say I'm just going to define it as contact, and then it's going to be routes contact tsx, and then I'm just going to also define a route in here, contact tsx, and import React from React in here, and then we can just see what was there in here. Okay, so we can, just like in the other component, we can export a meta section. So yes. Well, this is something I kind of wonder how we're going to handle, because this title is just the, there is no way we can inherit default meta, at least not, it doesn't seem so, does it? Okay, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to research this later, but for now, I'm just going to override the title of this page, and I'm going to export default function contact, and then this is going to return hello from contact page, and then we also don't need this welcome component here. We can also just return an h1. So hello from home, and then we don't need this import. So if we go back to the browser, it now says hello from home, and we have no way to get to the contact page. So also it seems that we don't need to import React anymore. I'm going to build a navigation component in the layout. Yeah, I think I'll just build a component. I think I'll just create a components directory in here. I'm going to call it header tsx, and then we don't need props at this point, so I'm just going to export an pure function header, export default function header, and then return. And this is going to be a header, and then we can also add an h1 in here, and this should be the name of the website. So for now it's just going to be Purple Rain, and then we can add this header component in here. So now we are getting this header component that says Purple Rain, and then we can go back to this header and add a navigation. And then I wonder how we handle links. So there is a component called navlink, and I think it's just going to render as an A. So for now I'm just going to use this repetitive syntax. So navlink to home, navlink, and then another navlink to contact, contact. And if you go back to the browser, okay, we have a home and a contact, and I'm going to add some styling. This class name equals flex, justify between, great. And then I'm going to set a height, so maybe just 4 rem. This looks bigger than it's going to be on your browser because I'm zoomed in. I'm at 125%, and then we are in dark mode. Yeah, I'm just going to say dark mode, background blue 800 or 600 maybe, because nobody has ever complained about blue, you know. And then items center, and then in the navigation, you know what, this could actually also be in a container. So wait, why is this? Okay, so I think I'm going to have to move a part of this to the container, and then also item center, and this has to be full height. Okay, great. But why does container not render it with a maximum width? Okay, so apparently, what's the width actually? Okay, so apparently the screen is too large. The zoom is too large, so it completely ignores the container. And the way we can fix this is by removing all the breakpoints. Initial, and then breakpoint large is going to be 48 rem. And then since we only have one screen size at this point, it's going to be rendered in here. And maybe for now I'll make it something bigger, like 56 rem. Okay. And then the navigation. These actually also could be, yeah, this should be separate LIs. And then class name flex maybe, and gap 4. Okay, fair enough. And well, maybe we can get some inspirations for what it should look like, but maybe not really. And then this should be a link to home, and then class name text large, and then maybe font bold or semi-bold. Okay, so if we click on contact, we now get routed to the contact page. And then as for the content, we can wrap it in a main component, and then yeah, maybe also a container. Okay, so now at least it gets centered. And then we could also define a footer. So export default function footer, and then we return a footer component. Yeah, we can just say something like dark background is going to be slate 800, so a bit lighter than the background. And then let's just say we have a paragraph, and it says copyright 2026 by Carol Moros, and then we have to use it in the layout. Okay, and now you can see that this this layout is only the height of the actual content, so we need to make it I'm going to make this footer sticky, and the way we do it is by wrapping this in a flex component, and then minimal height is going to be screen, and then this is going to be flex 1, and this way we got our sticky footer. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to footer and maybe center everything. So grid, place, items, center, text small, and then padding Y 8 or 6. Okay, looks good enough if you ask me. And yeah, so that was actually all we needed to do to have a basic navigation and layout using the React Router DOM version 7 and using Tailwind CSS. One thing I noticed is that for some reason we are not getting classes RC.json. We're not getting classes formatted in here. Maybe it's Prettier RC.js. Wait. Does Git even see this file? Okay, I think I may have Prettier CJS in like global cat git ignore. Yeah, for some reason I have Prettier CJS ignored globally, so I'm just going to rename it to Prettier CJS. And then what do we have? Module exports equals plugins require Prettier plugin Tailwind CSS, maybe. And then this is going to complain because we have not installed this plugin, so I'm going to add it. Okay, so now let's see if I run Prettier-w. Okay, require cannot be used on an ESM. Okay, so it seems like is this the correct plugin? No, apparently not. So can I just pass a string here? Yes, we can. So, and then if we go to the header, let's see. Did it actually format anything? It did not format. It did format something. So let's see if I move these classes around. Okay, so Prettier plugin Tailwind CSS is a plugin that just reorders Tailwind classes, so similar classes are grouped together, and we just had to set it up in here. And then I think I could also copy some settings from my default configuration, because for example I like trailing commas and I like semicolons and I hate single quotes. Okay, so that was with this out of the way, we have all the first 4 items. We have the first 4 items out of the way, and I think it's a good moment to commit. First, I'm going to make sure I have a JJ repo set up, and then I can run a JJ commit. And set up layout. And what? And Prettier. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go ahead and try to can I actually wrap anything in the, can I actually use any component, any providers in the router? So route module layout maybe. Yeah, let me just see layout. What about providers? No, layout. So layout export. So I'm not exactly sure if okay, I'm not exactly sure where I should set up the components, but I'm just going to go, for now I'm just going to go ahead and install TanStack React Query. Oh yeah, just this command. And it also tells me to add an ES plugin, so I'm not sure if I have ESLint configured at all. Maybe I don't. And then there is this dev tools. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to add this as well. So it says React Query dev tools, so maybe it just has to be no, like in the root component maybe. So maybe in the layout, TanStack React Query DevTools, like so. Application error. Okay, no query client set, use query client provider to set one. So this means I need to configure a client. So I'm just going to do this in a new directory called API, and then in a file called client ts. I'm going to import import query clients. Okay, so TanStack React Query const query client equals new query client, and maybe I can just export it. Yeah, I guess so. And then I can import query client provider now from TanStack React Query, and then I can wrap this application in. You know what, maybe I should wrap this instead, like so. No, query client provider client equals query client, and then query client provider like this. No query client set. What about now? And then I will also put this inside. Okay, so it seems that this has worked. We now have a query client provider. I'm still not sure if this is the right place to set this up, but you know, maybe it is. You know what, this does not seem like the right place, because we may also need the client provider, the query client, inside of the header or footer. So for now, I'm just going to put this in the layout. And then if something breaks, we'll worry about it later. And then, yeah, outside of the layout, and then this just returns the outlet. Okay, so this still seems to work. And we also got this bubble, which is the TanStack Query developer tools. So if later on we get any we make any queries or mutations, we're going to be able to see them in this view. And okay, so we have TanStack Query client set up, but we don't have an API to make any API calls. So I think in the next video I should implement some API calls, API endpoints in the Go project, and then we can go about actually writing some queries in the code. Okay, I know this has been kind of chaotic. I did not prepare beforehand, but hopefully you have learned something from this video, because I sure have. And I'm looking forward to exploring more new technologies on the channel. I intend to make daily videos for the time being, and I'm going to basically do most of my side projects on the channel in the open, and my end goal is to rebuild this Web of N Academy website. This website is also a work in progress, but it's basically intended to be a one-stop shop for all things Web of N, and Web of N, by Web of N I mean passkeys. And yep, I'm going to put emphasis mostly on Go and the JavaScript integrations. I don't think I'm going to implement Elixir, the Elixir part, because I don't really write Elixir these days anymore, so my skills may have atrophied. But anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you did not enjoy this video, please trash me in the comments below. I'm also going to leave a link to the repository we built today in the description under this video. And if you would like to meet more people who watch my channel, you can consider visiting discord.moros.dev and then signing for the waiting list. And if you do, and if we hit 100 signups, I'm going to start a Discord community. And with that said, that's all for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you.